Let us catch up.
Which SUV would make the best investment?
Ooh.
The Subaru Outback has the best resale value in its
Turn that
class for
off. Hold on.
2019, according
I'm
to
hearing
Kelly
your
Luba.
background
Even
music.
better than the Toyota RAV4. Sorry, Toyota. Lisa, new 2019 Subaru Outback for $249 a month.
You can just mute it. If you mute it, you can still watch it go.
Yeah, no, that's okay. I don't need to see it. Okay.
Yes. Tenants from Hell. We probably have some topics like we do a I'm just waiting for people to log on, Jeff.
Sure.
We do a 5-day notice here. What is the number of day notice that you do in New York?
3 days.
3-day notice.
3-day notice for lack of payment. You can do any 3 days is typical for no payment of rent. But you can do longer for different things. Like some people will do 10 days to cure a violation. I always
I'm talking about rent. I don't care about nothing. No, I
rent,
need
oh yeah.
money.
So just rent 3 days.
Okay, I know Indiana is 10. I got some clients out there.
That's horrible.
Could you imagine?
Yeah.
Shit, 10 days. Class, welcome. I'm letting everybody chime in. Jessica and I were working on getting your joint venture / partnership. What is the difference between a joint venture and a partnership, Jess?
So a joint venture is really just an agreement between two separate business entities or two separate people, whereas a partnership agreement, it signifies that you're actually connected legally in terms of liability and rights and responsibilities. So a partnership has different entitlement and rights legally than if you're just joint venture.
I didn't know that, Jessica. So what are you going to recommend as we are coming to the end of our document creation? What are we?
If you're just working with someone because you each bring skills to the table or you each bring something like money or physical labor or whatever, do a joint venture because that you're not really combining your businesses, you're combining your skills and your services, and you're just documenting in the joint venture agreement who gets what if when you sell the property. It's really all the JV agreement is. It's a contract in terms of who's paying for what, who's responsible for what. Whereas a partnership agreement, you're actually merging as one business entity.
Mm-hmm.
So that means you're liable for anything your partner does.
So when we finish with ours, shit, you're the expert. What is it going to be called? Is it going to be a joint venture agreement or a partnership agreement? What do you think about that?
Yeah, we can talk about that.
Mm-hmm.
But so it's better if it's a short-term deal to just do a JV agreement, because then when the house or the property's done, you're done. You don't have to deal with this person again, you know.
That's what I was hoping.
And you don't have to do anything legally to break up. You know, if you merge as partners, then you're filing like tax documents and documents with the state and things like that. JV agreement is just putting down on paper what our rights and responsibilities are.
Yeah, I think you're thinking in the macro of bigger than I'm just thinking, look, there's one house after this, I don't want to know who you are.
Right.
You know.
Right. Just that's exactly what the JV agreement is for.
Okay, so class, Frank, I got your email. I'm gonna give you that link. It's not quite ready yet. Jessica is the master at I don't know what is it. That the words that you use. I heard you going through all those old documents that you had. Where is all that stuff? Is that just stuff from just stuff?
Yeah, that's like law school and just looking at contracts for 20 years. You kind of just get that ingrained in your head. And then I have to undo it all to create documents for us that like is for just the everyday use. We don't need all that crazy language in there. Lawyers like to create more work. I don't know.
Why is that, Jessica? Being one.
I don't know. I got to tell you, it's frustrating being one. It's like, why? Why can't you just say what you mean in 10 words? Why do I need 3 pages of words I have to look up to understand what you're trying to say? Wow. So when I always break things down to its simplest form. I don't want there to be any misunderstanding. And I always include the important stuff in there. But it's almost like, I don't know, maybe it just makes people feel like they look more official with all that stuff. I don't know.
Mm. But even the stuff that you sent me, I'm like, my head, I don't forget which document was it a
It was a purchase and sale agreement, and it's like 10 pages long.
I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm like, just, I'm trying to think what I thought at that time. I'm like, my first thought was, no way.
I know. And it took me like 2 days to whittle it down to 3 pages. And you were still like, yeah, no, keep working. But I did. I got it down to 2 pages of just critical stuff.
That's cool. So right now, our joint venture, well, we're leaning to what joint venture agreement is right around 3 pages,
Yes.
class. So
And I think that's perfect.
but we're not done.
But it's going to be the perfect document. It's going to cover all the legal stuff you need and in very simple terms.
Nice.
Yeah, it's going to be great.
I love it. Thank you for working with me on that, Jessica.
Oh, I'm so happy to do it. I'm definitely of your mindset. You know, I want everybody to be able to afford legal documents to protect themselves. It shouldn't just be for the, wealthy or the big corporations.
Ultra wealthy, almost shit.
Yeah.
Ultra wealthy. All right, class. Thank you for chiming into us in my mission. My ministry is to raise your financial literacy through real estate investing and entrepreneurship. Every Friday, I get an opportunity to hang out with one of the masters in the legal world, Jessica Siegel. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. I'm so happy to be here. I look forward to my Fridays with you guys now.
This
It's
is
regular on my calendar. It's a great way to end the week.
well, yeah, it's so nice. They don't know how much I had to pay you and bribe you to come on here.
Oh,
All right, class. Today, both of us are landlords, Jessica and I. And she called me up. She's like, Chris, I got some stuff going on that
yeah.
I just have to get off my chest. And maybe this would be like a little vent session.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. And you think, and it's a perfect example though for viewers because you think just because I'm an attorney or I've been, renting property or I have experience with stuff, even we get into a jam sometimes with people who just take advantage of us. So this particular tenant, oh, man, she's just pushing me to my limit.
Let's create the
And
framework first before we go. Let's
yeah,
create the
and so I'm
framework.
sure you see it too. And so it's just a question of like, how do you deal with people? How far do you take it? When do you drop the hammer? When are you more considerate or forgiving?
How do we get before we get to the tenant from hell? Let our viewers and me know how did we get? Because when you look back, obviously, I know there had to be signs. So
Oh
tell me
yeah,
how you. Yeah, I
yeah.
read your mind.
So, oh yeah.
How do we get?
So, I mean, I'll say this. First of all, I have a really good lease in place. Okay. So I want to start with, don't be afraid to have a good lease. Some people are afraid to be locked in with a contract and they prefer to just have no lease and be month to month. But a good lease actually is both a sword and a shield for you. Okay, so
Sure.
when you have provisions in there for rule breaking or late rent, it's very clear what the penalties and ramifications are, and you just enforce those terms. And my philosophy about landlording is to drop the hammer. I don't get and when I screen people, I tell them up front, there is no consideration given. These are the rules. The rent's not paid. You're getting your 3-day notice, and I'm moving towards eviction. I don't even want to know the sob story. It's irrelevant to me.
Wow.
That being said, and I've had tenants stay in my properties for years. As long as I'm very responsive. If there's maintenance issues or whatever, it works both ways. That being said, I had this property vacant. It's a great apartment in a
Mhm.
good school district. I had a line out the door of people wanting it and trying to rent it. Okay.
Worthy applicants.
Worthy applicants. And I was at the point where I was like, gee, there's so many good applicants. Who should I almost like reward with this property?
Oh wow.
It's like a really nice backyard, and I had just renovated the kitchen. It was brand new. I know it's a good spot. It's a school district that a lot of people want, whatever. The other tenants are dream neighbors, so kind and considerate. So, okay. So this particular
The
tenant,
neighborhood is good, the place is good,
yeah,
location is desirable, it's close to
yes,
shopping, I would presume?
yes, close to shopping, and I include heat in the rent. You know,
Wow, that's big for up north.
yeah, it is big. But I have like one oil tank and some multifamily, so it's just too hard to break it down. So I just factor that into the rent that I charge.
Gotcha.
Uh, so that's being said, this particular person, I'm gonna be careful, is a
Yeah.
single parent and makes a boatload of money. So paying the rent should not have been an issue. I did the background check. Looked at her pay stubs. I knew that as a single parent, my concern was, can she pay the rent?
Yep.
Okay. And so everything checked out. The one thing my mistake was, and I realize it now, like you said, in hindsight, I didn't ask her why she was moving.
Why are you moving?
Always ask that question, and I didn't.
You
She
have to
didn't
know.
ask her why she was moving. I was just really focused on, can she pay the rent? So I looked at her credit report, her criminal history background, her pay stubs. I did all what I consider the important things.
Gotcha.
The day we were meeting to sign the lease, she made a comment about having to get out in a rush from her last apartment.
When did she make this comment?
Like the day we're signing the lease.
Oh, so you're sitting down at the table, she's like, "Shit. Whew, thank God
Yeah.
I did it."
Yes. And I was like, oh, why did you have to get out in such a rush? And she's like, I don't want to talk about that.
Oh, wow.
So I'm like, oh, and so that was a big flag for me, but we were
Jesus.
literally sitting there. She had a
Yeah.
wad of cash in her hand.
Mm.
And I just said, okay, she paid her first month rent and her security deposit. We
Mhm.
talked about how she would electronically transfer the rent. That's a requirement for me, that you just electronically pay the rent so that there's a paper trail. And also, I'm not chasing you down for money.
Mhm.
So she signs the lease in September 2018 and pays, September and October, no issue. November comes, no rent is paid.
The first October. Is that the
Second
first?
month,
Second month, okay.
no rent is paid. Now, I'll tell you, for whatever I had going on in my own life, I didn't actually notice at that time that the rent wasn't electronically deposited.
Mhm.
So come November, I'm paying bills and I see that her rent was never deposited.
Mhm.
So I communicate with her and I'm like, hey,
What
listen,
time of the month was this, by the way?
like the middle of December. Okay. Now, the reason I noticed it is because she hadn't paid December on time. Okay. So I'm doing some bills. I'm like, okay, there's no November rent. And now you're a week late with December.
Mhm.
So I do I text her first. I communicate first, like, hey, listen, can you check your bank records? I'm showing you didn't pay your November rent. Oh,
Yeah.
and by the way, you're late for December, and according to your lease, there's a $50 late payment penalty.
Yeah, you're talking to her on the phone or text?
Yes.
You called
First,
her?
first it was a text message and then a phone call.
Okay. She didn't reply to the text.
She did, but I wanted actual conversation about it.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
So that there would be no miscommunication.
Mhm.
And then she, basically she paid the December rent with the late fee and
Okay.
said she would get back to me about November. She needed to ask her bank what happened because she swears that she sent the payment electronically.
Yeah, whatever.
So January 1st comes, no rent payment. And I'm
Oh
like,
my
here we
lord.
go. Okay. So I was like, I'm not messing around. I sent the 3-day notice. So if, every state's different. In New York, a lot of states, it's 3 days. You have to properly serve the notice and put the information about the date the rent was due, the date
Mhm.
that the notice is being served. You have to, before you can file for eviction, you have to have that notice properly served. So
Yeah.
I use a process server so that I'm out of it. Okay, a process server is $50 basically. So that covers my late fee. And the process server makes 3 attempts, usually in the morning, late at night, in the middle of the day, or on the weekend. And that way, if she doesn't answer her door, then by law, he can tape it to the door, and that's considered proper service.
Gotcha.
So I didn't even communicate anything. I just had her served with the 3-day notice. I don't care. I don't want an excuse. Either you pay the rent or you don't.
Let me stay here for real quick, Jay. So New York, you're serving them physically.
Physically serving a notice on them by hand delivery. If you've made 3 attempts, you can't physically hand it to them. You're allowed to tape it to the door. It's called nail and mail.
So
and then you put a copy in the mailbox.
Oh, mailbox. Okay, all right. So in Virginia, ours is all we are required to do is a certified letter to the tenant. Matter of fact, they say do not go to the property.
Yeah.
Just mail it. I'm presuming I guess that's state by state.
Yes. Yes. So that being said, I promptly get the phone call, and she's hot, kind of hostile. Like,
over what?
Like, how dare I serve a notice on her? Like, what is this? So I was I actually went over to talk to her and knocked on the door. Cause again, I'm like, I'm only 2 months into this lease. I want to try and save rapport. And I went to her and I said, listen, I told you from the day you moved in that I don't even want an explanation. If the rent's not paid, get out. Like that, there is no discussion about it. I'm legally required to serve you the 3-day notice so I can go to court next week and evict you.
Oh, it's that quick?
Yes.
So you already, when you do the 3-day notice, you've already filed?
No, you have to give them the 3 days to pay you. That's why it's called a 3-day notice. They have 3 days to cure the defect. So you have to wait those 3 days, and then after that, you can go to court.
Gotcha. Yeah, there's 5 down here. Okay, go ahead.
So, so she basically gave me this story about how she spent too much at Christmas time and doesn't have the money, right? And I looked at her and I was like, that's not my problem. You don't get to live here for free because you spent too much at Christmas. So I basically said an eviction is going to destroy your credit history. So you decide. You can pay me the money or you can voluntarily leave. Like, if you want to pack up and leave, I'll let you out of your lease. I want you gone.
Yeah.
And there's things we can talk about that. Some landlords would never let anybody out of their lease, because they want the money.
Oh no.
Me personally, I don't want the headache. So we can agree that you're out of this lease and move on.
Empty property is so much more valuable in my experience than having somebody in there not paying.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I got to be honest with you, it makes me angry that somebody would stay in the property and not pay.
Yeah, because we got to pay the bills either way.
I have to buy the oil. I have to pay the taxes. I have to pay for the water.
Insurance, mortgage.
Yeah, all that stuff. So I will say this. So she paid again late.
With the late fee?
With the late fee. I apologize. I got to just grab my cord. You're taking a walk with me through the house.
You're good.
My battery's going to run out. So I just want to grab my power cord while we're talking. So I should have paid attention to that before we went on.
Class, we're hanging out with Jessica Siegel today online. Tenants from hell. After she shares her current story, I'm going to share some of my stuff. At the end of this, we're going to do some quick Q&A, as we always do with our trainings. Jessica had this tenant from hell story she just wanted to share with you today, so you don't go through that.
Oh yeah.
And I have got several tenants from hell. I have to pick one of mine. Shit.
So I gotta tell you, I usually am cold and heartless. I felt bad for the kids that were there. It's the middle of winter. I said, okay, listen, square it away. And so now she's on a cycle where she's paying 2 weeks late every month.
Hard to get by.
The next month's going to be the same thing. So now, since December, every month the rent is late 2 to 3 weeks. She does pay the late fee every month, but I have to chase her down every month. And
Mm.
I sent her text messages.
Mm.
Rent is now 10 days late. What are you doing?
10
Like,
days.
you know, like, what am I going to do? Right? Because in New York, if they pay the rent, you cannot evict them.
Even if it's taken with reservation? That's what we have down here.
Yeah, we don't have that here in New York.
You can't get any credit.
What do you mean?
Say they're 2 months behind, they pay 1 month. That's not that doesn't sound reasonable to me.
Oh yeah, no. I'm talking about if they pay in, like if they pay in full, but they're paying late. In other words,
I
if
got you. I got
she's
you.
paying the monthly rent, but she's paying it whenever she feels like it.
So you would have to, in order so we can keep moving on, I wanna make sure I
Yeah.
make it congruent. You would have to refund that money to
Yes.
her.
Yes. I would have to not accept the money to seek eviction. Okay.
Mhm.
And at the end of the day, I'd rather have the money at this point than have to deal with evicting her, because that's
Yeah.
also money and time for me.
Mhm.
So, and now I'm almost like at her mercy. Like, hey, whenever you feel like paying the rent, can you pay the rent?
She's training you. She's
Yes,
training you.
which makes me very angry.
I know it.
And so I said to her, now it's February. Hey, by the way, you haven't paid November yet.
Oh,
Okay,
wow. We just
right?
forgot about that. We
Right? She
just
still
we just
didn't
swept
pay
that under the
November.
rug.
And now you're late for February. And then it was, I broke my foot. I haven't been able to work. Oh, I have the flu. I haven't been, and it was now one sob story after another.
Mm,
So
mm.
now I'm at the point where I'm like, okay, if I file for eviction, she'll stop paying completely, because that's what people do. If I serve her with an eviction notice, she's not going to pay me rent, right?
You
Because
talking about
she knows she's going to get evicted.
well, Jessica, that might not be a bad thing. I always when people get behind with me, I always say, "Listen, you need the money more than me. Why don't you keep it and move on to the
Yeah.
next place?"
Yes.
Move
Yes.
on to the next
So
place.
that's actually where I am right now.
Okay.
Okay. So my next so the conversation we had was, oh,
When was this? When was this?
this was Sunday,
Okay, so we're already April 10th or whatever.
right? So now I'm like, okay, rent's 10 days late. You know, what are you doing? Oh, I have the flu. I can't get to the bank, because the electronic payment went right out the window. Okay. Now she just goes to the bank and deposits it into my account whenever she feels like it.
Wow, dude.
So yeah, so that's where I'm at now. I'd rather go without the rent and just get her out.
Yeah.
Now, her lease is up at the end of August.
Okay, we got 4 months.
So part of me is like, well, maybe there's no way I'm renewing her lease. Not going to happen.
Yeah, but
So,
August is the worst time. I mean, September, no one wants to move when school's starting, Jess.
well, so my next conversation with her is going to be, hey, listen, start looking for a new place before school starts, because I'm not renewing your lease.
That's it. Yeah, you can let her know.
You know,
But I
I'm
don't
letting
want
you know you've got 3 months to look for a place.
hmm.
And in this really, you know, part of it is just being a landlord, you know, you have to accept it. But part of it is like, I really felt like I was doing something good for her, because she's a single mother. It's a good school district. I knew it would be a nice place for her. And I feel like she just totally took advantage of my kindness,
She did.
you know? And, you know, even in the beginning, her daughters are allergic to bees. And there was a bee's nest. And I immediately, the day she called me, had a professional out to treat the bee's nest, and just so there would be no issues. You know, there was an issue with where something had to do with the garbage cans. I immediately resolved it that day. So it's not like somebody's not paying because they feel like their landlord isn't taking care of the property. You
Mhm.
know, it's just people decide, I can get away with it, or I can push it, you know,
Wow.
and I'm sure that's why she got out of her last place so quickly, because she probably same thing. Either was about to be kicked out, or her lease was not going to be renewed, you know.
Mm.
So my lesson for myself is, one, remember to always ask that question, why are you moving?
Wow.
And, you know, people will say, oh, talk to the prior landlord. you don't know for sure that the phone number that you're getting is even a real landlord. So I don't really care about that. That could be their cousin for all you know.
Mm-hmm.
Part of it is using your gut. And so part of it is I'm disappointed that I like the red flag was there and I let her sign the lease anyway.
Let's stay here for a minute. Verify previous landlord, Jay. You know, I don't want to say I've seen everything. I've seen a lot.
Yeah.
You can't verify this, but what people have done to me, if I can kind of catch them. I have, just like with the attorney, I know who the owner is because of the tax records.
Right.
And I can always ask them, okay, if they say that's their name, I always ask them, when did you buy the house?
Mm.
If they tell me some crazy stuff, you know it's not the owner. You know it's
Yeah.
not the owner. Because what they'll do is they'll get their friend to call you, right?
Yes.
And then you're like, hey. And then I had one lady one time, I'm like, why are you letting I forgot what it was. She's like, I like to help people. I like to help people. And I'm like, no landlord that I've ever known loves to help people and let them live for free,
Right.
you know? So have you gotten that yet? Somebody making up the story?
I haven't. And I think that because I typically screen so well,
Mm-hmm.
I've been really lucky. Now, mind you, I've only been a landlord 3 years, and
Mm-hmm.
but um, you know, it's one of those things. At one point, I'm like, I should just sell the property. I don't even want to deal
Oh
with
no.
it, right? I had that moment where it's like, it's not worth it, and then I'm like, no, I can't do that. Take a deep breath.
No way. Oh,
This is just part of being a landlord. So
wealth
um,
management.
yeah.
Wealth management.
So she knows at this point, I have no doubt my disdain for her. We only communicate by text.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So this is a perfect example. Wednesday, she said to me the rent would be deposited today.
Friday.
Okay. Friday, today, 3:30. No rent's been deposited yet. I'm sure there'll be some story about how she couldn't get out of work in time and she'll pay it on Saturday. It's like literally whenever she feels like it.
Oh, you pissed. I can hear your
Oh
voice.
yeah.
Oh.
Because you know what? It's I don't like when people take advantage
Mm-hmm.
of someone else's kindness. You've been provided a clean, safe, functioning place to live. Your only obligation is to pay rent.
Mm.
It's not like you're being asked to do anything else.
And no doubt she got a tax return.
So from here to there, it's a lesson learned. I'll let you know. I don't know whether to ride it out if she keeps paying late and then just not renew her lease. If she doesn't actually pay this month, then I will do the 3-day notice.
So
I'm gonna suck up the fact that I won't get the rent and just evict her, and that's it.
here's the thing, Jay, with them, I don't know if I want to say, let me just, I don't want to, let me suggest my mentality when I don't get rent and I go after them, I always remember to myself, Chris, you didn't get the rent anyway.
Yeah,
You never got the money anyway. So
yeah.
why are you fighting this resistance for going after getting rid of the people? Like you're not getting the money anyway. So what is the problem? You know?
That's a good that's a good point. See, in my particular case, I get it with the late fee. I just get it late. If somebody wasn't paying anything, then yes, I agree. I think I'd probably feel differently.
Well, I'm just saying today,
Yes.
let me ask you, Jess, have you already filed a 3-day? You've already served it with the 3-day.
So the first time I did the 3-day, then she paid. So now I have to do it a new one every time.
Yeah, every month.
Yes.
So
Right.
so
So
what day are your rents due on your leases, Jess?
they're due on the first of the month. If it's not paid by the third business day, it's late, and there's a $50 late payment.
$50 for the 5th. So then you send out the 3 days. So we're right here at the 10th.
Yeah.
What is holding you back, Jessica, from going down there and filing for down here it's called an unlawful detainer?
Yeah.
What would
Honestly, the only thing holding me back is I feel bad for her kids.
Who do you feel worse for, you or her?
I feel bad for her children because, that's the truth. I feel bad for her children because they're going to be out on the street, right? Because their mother is, not being responsible.
Can you hear me, Jay?
Yeah.
Somebody just said they could.
So I feel like the children will be punished because their mother is not being responsible. So I have, I do have a soft spot for single
see.
parents. You know
I
what I
see what you're
mean?
saying.
I know at this point she's just irresponsible and taking advantage of me.
Yeah.
And so the only
Wow.
person that gets punished is the children.
Wow. That's deep for you to say that, Jessica. I
Yeah.
don't want you to be taken advantage. Well, let me ask you, who do you care more for, you and your children, or her and her children?
Well, and here's the thing, like, of course, me and my children, but I'm in a unique position where I'm not feeding my family based on that money. Okay.
Okay.
So it's not
All right.
really about me and my kids. This is an investment property for me.
Gotcha.
And I don't use that money to live on now. I'm using this investment as long-term down the road. And keep in mind, it's a multifamily property. So this is
Yeah.
really important. I have another wonderful tenant who has never missed a payment in 4 years and pays the
Wow.
rent early every month, a day early every month.
Holy cow.
So that's why I highly recommend multifamily properties for that reason.
Mhm.
So I know that the mortgage and the taxes are already being paid for with the other tenant.
Okay.
So, I have cushion there.
Yeah.
I would be a lot more aggressive if she was the only tenant and now I'm not feeding my kids because she's not paying the rent.
Gotcha.
So every situation is going to be different.
Very true.
And so part of my mindset is that I try and be generous and be good to people who need the help.
Yeah.
So in this particular situation, I feel like it's good karma for me to just be a little patient and kind.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, I know come summertime she's out, because I will have the sheriff's office execute a warrant to get her out when her lease is up.
I gotcha. So
Um,
this is a little different, Jess, because you have, first of all, this is not your only income, which
no,
is great,
yes,
and you have somebody else paying at that property.
yes. So I'll say this for anybody out there, I'm telling the story because I want you to see how being a little too lenient gets you in a hole.
Wow.
Once I set the tone that I would accept the late rent, she's got no incentive to ever pay it on time.
Bam.
She's trained me, right? You teach people how to treat you. So if I dropped the hammer in the middle of December, 2 weeks before Christmas, and said, get out, I wouldn't have this headache right now.
Mm,
But, I couldn't do it. I couldn't,
I
because I
gotcha.
just saw those little faces, right? 2 weeks
Mhm.
before Christmas. But I'll
Wow.
say this, if you're running your business, take the lesson learned from me. I have such headache every month and stress every month, wondering what I'm gonna have to deal with her. Is she gonna pay or not? I should have just gotten her out in December that very first time and moved on. And in hindsight, that's what I will do again. I will
Good for you.
never allow myself to have this headache. So that's the lesson learned,
Yep.
is that the slightest bit you give a tenant, you send the message that they can do whatever they want. It's like almost like having a teenager, right? Or a toddler, whatever. Once they know they can get away with certain things, they're going to keep pushing the boundaries.
Keep pushing them, right? They will train. Good God, my motto is your tenants will train. You train them, or they're going to train you.
Yes. Yeah. So,
They'll do it.
yeah. So I'll say this. I have a great lease. If I want her out, she will be out because I have very clear terms. There is a penalty in place. And if I walk into court and I, basically provide the lease and the explanation that there's no rent, she's out.
Yeah.
And if in New York, if you get that warrant of eviction, the sheriff's office just comes and puts their stuff on the lawn. There is no, like, I'm going to stay.
Wow.
Yeah, the sheriff's office literally comes in, takes all their stuff, puts it on the lawn, and they're out, and I can change the locks.
We're like 30 days behind on, we call it a writ of possession here. Once you win possession,
Yeah.
we're 30 to 45 days out after that, Jessica. How
Oh
far
my
are you guys? Oh my goodness. Yeah.
No, I think it's 48 hours from the
Once you
start,
win?
once you win.
Holy cow.
Now, the court can make that longer. Like the court can say, no, I'm requiring a 30-day wait period or whatever. But,
Okay.
but by law, 48 hours, they can be out on the street, change the locks.
Man, that is so cool.
So I know that if I really wanted her out, she'd be out in 2 days. And who gets penalized for that? There's these little kids,
Yeah.
So,
Wow.
if I just had a couple in there with no kids, I would feel no empathy. I feel like, get out. I just, yeah, I
That's
feel bad.
nice of you.
Oh, I mean, have you had that situation before? Like, what do you do when somebody doesn't pay rent?
I look at you and I see me back
Yeah.
in 2006.
Okay.
I'm like, man, I'm gonna help people, and they got kids, and they're single parent, and they're behind on their rent, and they're probably behind on their. I was like that.
Yeah.
I guess it's kind of like being scorned. You get stabbed
Yeah.
so many times. I don't even, Jessica. To be honest with you, I haven't. It doesn't even cross my mind anymore.
Yeah.
Maybe that's bad though. Maybe I need to. I'm glad I'm talking to you. Maybe I need to be more
No,
giving.
I don't know, because I got to tell you, I tell people all the time, this is a business. I am not running a charity, yet here I am not
Running
taking
the
my own
charity.
advice.
It's
So
not like good.
no, so I'm telling my story because I don't want somebody else to fall prey to where I am now.
Mhm.
Like, it's a business. I'm not running a charity. I'm not running a homeless shelter.
Yeah.
So, it shouldn't matter. It should be no rent paid, 3-day notice, move on.
It's over.
That's it. It's over. It's a business. If I don't pay my mortgage, that's what the bank's going to do to me.
Now I will say every time I do have a late payment, I mail out the 5-day notice without exception. Like our
Okay.
rent's due on the 28th, so my 5-day notice goes out on the 1st.
Okay.
So I'm ready to file for the writ of the unlawful detainer by the 5th.
Okay.
So even if they pay, we still sent it out. I don't mind wasting that time to do that. But we don't have to pay to get served here. You just have to make sure you mail it certified.
Okay.
So things are differently. But um even with your situation, for me, I'm like, even if I'm working with the tenant, like say for instance, if I'm doing some type of negotiation and helping them get their rent in, I still go to the courthouse and I file for possession.
Okay.
So I'm working with them and I tell them, listen, the committee makes me file this, but we're going to work with you. All we want you to do is pay, before the
Yes.
court pay. So
Right. And so that's really where I'm at now, because I have no doubt, even if she does pay April's rent, she's still not going to pay November. So I'm still in the hole for November.
no, why
So
should she? It's already over.
yeah, my thought is do the 3-day notice and the eviction so that she has to answer to the court at least about the November rent.
How's that going to play out with the court where you're letting her stay?
She still hasn't paid that though. So at the end of the day, she still is not up to date on her rent.
Yeah, we need to get that under control.
Yeah.
That's gonna play out, Jay. Well, here's the thing, and we'll move on, Jess. I mean, I
Yeah.
know you know what you're doing. For me, summertime's best time to get people, but September, dude, is like when you get it empty. Are you gonna be able to show it? To new tenants, maybe? Or you've got to. Are people gonna want to move in September? I don't know.
I Yeah, I mean, it depends. I mean, like I said, part of me is like, I don't know that I want to necessarily deal with little kids again.
Oh,
You know what I mean?
okay.
So who knows? Who knows who the perfect tenant is,
There is none. Everybody's human.
Right.
Everybody has problems.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that was
I would
cool.
say this, aside from rent collection, what would you say is the biggest headache you get from tenants?
You know what? Wow, Jessica, I'm saying this lovingly.
Yeah.
Now that I'm doing lease options,
You don't even deal with it,
well,
right? Because it's like they have to fix everything themselves.
well, not necessarily. I do stuff like other day I had to put a roof on one of my lease purchases because I could have made them anyway. The majority of stuff, yes, they do. But I'm thinking, like, I either have. Let me tell you this. Let me rewind. I've got a bunch of rental property, right? Every one of my conventional rentals, where they're like regular
Yeah.
private, let's say private pays, Every one of them I have a problem with.
Yeah.
Everyone. I have one of my residents that has been with me since 2005. She's behind. Another one of my private pays. They're behind 2 months. But my lease option people and my government section, my government housing choice voucher program people, no problems.
Yeah.
No problems. But when I was in that world, it was like my thing, Jess, is kind of like everybody's gonna have a hiccup in
Yeah.
life, you know. So it's just not, if it won't be today, it'll be one day.
Yes. So that's kind of my perspective, is that this is a long-term investment. When I bought it, my thought was it'll be paid off when I'm, in my 50s or 60s, depending on how long I want to take to pay it off. And then I will have this cash flow when I don't want to work as much.
Yeah,
I'm not expecting a return on my investment every month necessarily.
gotcha.
My tenants are building my equity in this investment, and then I have that equity to go buy another property or,
Right,
whatever. But
right.
if I relied on that money every month to feed my family, it would be really stressful.
For sure, yeah. Well, that's the thing for me. What happened, Jay, with me about right around 2010, I'm like at night, every night, I felt like I was going to a casino.
Yeah.
Every pulling the slot machine, who's gonna pay? Who's gonna pay? I
Right?
got
That is a great way to explain it.
but you've got what, I don't know how many you have. Jessica, I've got a bunch, and it's
Yeah.
like I gotta remember who's, and that, obviously I could hire a property manager, but but I don't. I manage them all. So I'm like, I'm talking to my wife, I'm like, no rent, no rent. I'm like, I'm sick, I'm done. It's got to be a better way. And I'm thinking of a way for you. I'm even thinking we could talk about it. How about you just owner finance that out to another investor and you just get a monthly payment? I was even thinking about that.
That I am very interested in that option. I'm
Yep.
thinking about doing that. Absolutely. Because there's tons of investors who want this property. So it's just
Yeah.
a question of, right, that. And the other option too is if I were to sell it and take the profit from the sale, because it would give me a good profit from the sale,
Mm-hmm.
and put that into a self-directed IRA
Hmm.
and just have the money grow. And then so there's all these things in my head. What should I be doing?
Well,
Yeah.
at least you have options,
Yes.
Jessica. At
Yeah.
least you
Yeah.
have options.
But I'm
All
sure
right.
every landlord has their tenant from hell story.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, I've got so many we can't even count. I mean, unfortunately, I have been put, dude, I remember watching tenants walk out with a newborn baby, dude. I mean, it's just been, it wasn't my house, it was my mentor.
Yeah.
But they were 6 months behind. They took
Yeah.
advantage of my mentor.
Yeah.
New families, man. I mean, good God. I remember one time we got a free motorcycle. Jessica, I had put out dozens and dozens and dozens of people, dog. I mean, my
Yeah.
my mentor was multimillionaire guy, right? So he would let his tenants stay 1 month, 2 month, 3 months, and then we're at lunch one time. He'd be like, "Man, this person's 3 months behind. Can you help me get the eviction?" So we'd hire a crew,
Yeah.
and Jessica. I mean, this would happen. We were evicting sometimes 4 people a month.
Yeah.
So I don't even. I mean, shit, I don't even feel it anymore. I don't feel it anymore.
Yeah.
All right. So horror story class. I would like for you to put what horror story you have, class, down in our comments below or in the chat box, and let's get to some quick Q&A. Jessica, is that okay?
Yes. Yes. Let's do it.
Thank you again, Jessica. I know you did not have to be here, and I'm just happy to be hanging out with you.
Yeah. I'm happy to be here. It's good. It's good. The community makes you feel like you're not going through it alone.
I'm telling you. Mm. All right. So just while I'm reading, Jessica and I are working on an LLC master class. Would you guys like to do an LLC? Because Jessica is the master at putting together LLCs.
Yeah. That would be a good class.
Well, you the one that brought it to my attention that we're going to do it live, right? I mean, it will
Yeah.
be in New York.
Yep. We're going to do it. How to set it up, what documents you need, all that good stuff.
Yes, and you're going to get an LLC class right from an attorney. Good gracious, how much is that worth? I don't even know. If I were to hire you just to do my LLC, what would it cost me if you just did it one-on-one with me?
So about, depending on your state, Like for New York, I charge $1,000.
So we're gonna do a 1-day seminar class to where you're gonna get a huge discount and you're gonna get your own LLC. Wow,
It's gonna be great.
that's so much value.
New
All
York
right.
is one of
Hmm?
those states where you have to do publication. So not every state. So I'll fill in, I'll explain like what states require what rules and all that good stuff.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it won't be. She's not gonna set your LLC up. It'll be for you to go
Right. For you
use
to
it.
do it yourself. The how
Yeah.
to.
Catherine, can she wants? Oh, do you work? Catherine Morrow. Hey, I got your email too, Catherine. Do you work with people in New Jersey at all?
Well, it
Jessica?
depends on what they need. I'm only licensed to do legal work in New York. But if somebody just has a quick question or something, or they just want a template or a document, I can do that.
Yep, Catherine. So I put Jessica's email address in this video description. Catherine is in New York. I think she's in Jersey. She has a contract that she wants you to review.
Yeah, I can definitely review contracts. And so I do that for people all over.
Somebody says they like you, but have you really been practicing law for 20 years? Wow.
Yeah,
That's
yeah, I have.
Jeez. I mean, why don't you write a book of all the crap you've seen?
I've actually been writing a book for a while. It's not done, but I've been writing. I have been writing
Good.
a book more so about mindset and relationships, honestly, based upon my legal experience,
Mm-hmm.
than just like a legal book.
Gotcha. Well, I don't care about the legal part of it. I want to know more about your life interacting with people, and obviously
Yeah.
you've seen what people their mindset on like
Yes.
what the f were you thinking? Well, what were we thinking doing this?
Yeah.
How many times have you said that?
Right? Oh my God. Several times a day.
Eleanor says Jessica's an iron fist.
Yeah.
Chris, train your tenants or they will train you. Yeah, that's my motto, my friend. Eleanor, you're right about that one. Nick, hey Nick. Franco. Daniel, thank you for your love offering. We got a small love offering. Thank you, brother Daniel. Jessica has no. Oh, truly gifted saying Jessica has to turn into a savage.
Yeah.
Everybody's different.
Yeah.
Uh, all right, class. You got any questions here? TB Sweetie says sometimes she pays tenants to move. I've done that too.
Yes, cash for keys, right?
Yeah. I'm like, obviously, you need the money right now a lot more than I need it at this second.
Yeah.
Just going. Oh, TB Sweetie, thank you for your another love offering. Thank you so much. That's cool. People don't care. All right, Jessica. TB Sweetie says, do you ever file a judgment to try to recoup back rent, Jessica?
So I'll say this. I've been really fortunate. I've never had to do that. This is my first time really dealing with a tenant who hasn't paid. That being said, I would do it, and I highly recommend you do it because it's just going to stay there. And if they ever were to come into a settlement or money or an inheritance, you can always go and garnish that money.
I see.
So why not file it? And then you're also sending a message for the next landlord that's going to deal with them. Because if they've done it to you, they're going to do it to somebody else.
That's right.
So, like for my tenant story, if I have to go down that road and she doesn't leave voluntarily and I have to evict, I'm definitely going to put the judgment on her. I want it on their credit history so that
Mhm.
somebody else sees they haven't paid their debts.
He's saying they owe TB Sweetie saying she's got tenants leave owing thousands of dollars. You sound like me. I don't do it, Jay. I just I'm like, man, I have no time. I'm just trying to get the next tenant in there. But
Right.
everybody's different.
Yeah, but what would you do? What do you do when the person doesn't want to leave and is not paying rent? Right? I mean, you're lucky if somebody's going to take the cash for keys and leave, or just take you for your offer to get out of the lease and leave. Great. But if somebody says, I'm not going to pay the rent and I'm not going anywhere, I mean, people do that.
That's terrible, man.
Yeah.
Wow, that's terrible. Truly Gifted wants to know, Jessica, have you thought about raising your late fees? I know my late fees are 10%, so $1,000 is $100.
Um, I haven't because that's like the standard, but I will now. After this experience, I will. I'll make it a 10% of the rent.
The 10%. I don't know. Matter of fact, I don't think it'll stand up in court. I've been to a friend of mine. I don't know what my state statute is, but 10% has just been my standard. But I know mortgages are like $15 if you're late on your mortgage payment. But the thing is, man, dealing with people, Jessica, for me, is like if you don't have a large late fee, it's almost like people they'll be like, and even if it's $100, they'll still not even they'll just pay it
Right.
late every month.
That's the way I agree. That's why it, I haven't really paid too much attention to it.
Yeah, they'll just pay it.
Hmm. It's more like a nuisance, really. A
Yeah.
nuisance fee.
Mike Myers, hey my friend, he wants to know, are you getting the extra $50 every month when she does pay,
Yeah.
Jessica?
Yeah. So she pays like 2 to 3 weeks late every month with the $50 late fee.
Yeah, and if you're anything like me, you would prefer to have the rent on time minus the late fee, no doubt.
Exactly. I'd much rather have predictable rent that's paid on the first of the month than deal with chasing it down for an extra $50.
Yeah, dude. I don't care about that. Yeah. People take advantage of you. That's right. People will take your kindness for weakness. You're right about that, my friend.
Yes.
No doubt she knows you are an attorney.
Yeah.
Damn, she's still this chick got some. TB Sweetie says she has a soft heart for kids too.
Yeah. I don't know if it's the woman landlord thing. I don't know.
It might be.
You know,
Truly Gifted said you lose your soft spot after a while.
but I mean, I agree with you. I think if I had, 10 or 15 properties and I'm managing them
It's a
all,
number. It's a
you
number.
just, it'd be overwhelming to let repeatedly people be late. Um,
TB Sweetie says, have you ever had a problem with someone doing an order to show cause? Wow, that on a rent? Whew. Can you do that?
that may be state specific. We can do an order to show cause in New York for other litigation things, not on rent.
Good. Good gracious, Jessica, that would be hell. Because you got to wait for. Don't you have to get a court date for that?
Well, an order to show cause is a way to get a quick court date.
Oh,
So,
okay.
in order to show causes, this is an emergency.
Gotcha.
I need an immediate court date. That's why you file it that way.
Daniel wants to know: is it okay by law to post bad tenants on Facebook, like on a chat section or something?
Oh goodness. I think, I mean, look, there's a balancing of free speech,
Yeah, man.
okay? But you're asking for a defamation lawsuit.
You
If
ask him.
somebody says it's not true and you're damaging my reputation, it's not, to me, it's not worth it.
Yeah, it's not worth it. But that's a good idea, though. Like, they have this bad tenant chat room on Facebook or something. I don't know. Daniel also wants to know: have you thought about doing an Airbnb with this one, Jessica?
I have thought about it, actually, especially after watching your video. And I might consider it. It's not in a location. I'll say this, two things. It's not in a location where you'd get a lot of Airbnb traffic. Okay.
Gotcha.
But also, I realized I'd have to buy a whole stage it with furniture. Like I'd have to buy, it's a 3 bedroom, it's the second floor of a house, 3 bedroom apartment. So if I were to do it as an Airbnb, I'd have to put in the beds and the
Yeah.
couches and all that furniture and lay all that out. And then if I don't make enough
Yeah.
money off it, and I don't know if it's worth that. I have
Yeah.
considered that too.
Maybe we'll look into that, Jessica, because we're doing that around the country now. I'd like
Yeah.
to at least do a cost analysis on it. Maybe I don't know. Wouldn't hurt.
Yeah.
Frank Page, you ready to do an invest with me? Okay, yeah, Frank. I got you ready to do something? Got a deal? Do I have any deals at the moment? Frank, just shoot me an email, my friend. I'll let you know what we got. Let's see I did get your email about our joint venture agreement. I'll get that link out to you. Alan Washington, how do you get started with no money on a
Ah,
fix and hold? I'm a very new investor. That's a good question, Alan. I don't
that's
necessarily like it, but huh?
that's how I bought my
Hit it.
property.
Hit it, Jay.
Private money is a fantastic resource. And if you just start telling everybody that you know, I'm looking for private money to invest in real estate, you will find. So I mean, I'm a private lender, you can email me and I'll give you information about that. But that being said, there's all over the country, reliable people. You just have to do your homework. You're going to pay more for the money. Okay. The bank is going to charge, we're at a record low for mortgage rates right now.
4%.
So private money is typically 10% and a couple of points, but you factor that into your purchase price. It's a cost of business. And it's short term. Once you get your tenants in place and you show that it's income producing, you can roll over into a traditional mortgage product. So it's just a short term solution. It's not a 15 or 30-year mortgage. But you can get source money from different people. Maybe you have friends or family that are each willing to give you $5,000 or $10,000 at 5 or 6%. It's a lot
Gotcha.
more than a bank is going to give in a savings account.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And that's your down payment. And so you have now the down payment, and then maybe you get, the holding price from another private money source.
Nice.
You just have to be creative.
Nice. Who asked that question? Alan. Jessica, what she's saying is all facts. It's all true. I just want you to make sure you got experience and some expertise coming in when you're putting other people's money up, Alan. And I also want you to take on a partner if you're telling you're new. Just work with somebody that knows what they're doing. If you don't have the expertise, I don't know you, but I want to maybe Jessica can chime in with that. I don't want Alan putting private or grandma and pa putting their money at risk if he doesn't know that deal's going to work.
Yeah, that's a fair statement.
With Jessica is the expert at this, real estate and doing all these deals. So someone lending her the money, it's no problems. But Alan, I want you to have some expertise in the business. That's all.
Sure. And that's good for every aspect, is find a mentor, find somebody that's a few steps ahead of you to guide you, and maybe you pay them for their consulting to
There you go.
find somebody in your county, your town that's doing it. There's a real estate investment association meetup or something, and pay a business coach.
Yeah. Chris Monroe asks, do you think Jessica having a property manager would have made it better or worse for you in this situation?
In this situation, well, I'll say this: worse only because I'd be paying a property manager.
To not get the rent.
Like the property managers, they don't around me. It's like so they don't care, right? It's not their money. They're getting paid either way. So I'd be paying a property manager, and I'd be dealing with a tenant not paying rent. I think if you are not local, if you don't have time to manage it yourself, if you don't know how to file an eviction, it's worth it to have a property manager. If you don't, maybe you're remotely owning this property. But for me, the property's in the same town that I live in. It's easier. I'm sort of a control freak. I just want to deal with it myself.
Right.
I want to be on top of it myself. I mean, I'll say this: I'm not helpless. Like I've chosen, and that's really what's important. I've chosen to allow it to get to this point where I'm frustrated and talking to you all about it. If I flipped a switch, she'd be out in 2 weeks. I mean, I'm just at the point now where I'm like, do I really want to bother with the eviction process? Do I want to deal with, hey, here's your out, give me the keys? Part of it is I just don't want to be bothered because I have too many other things going on. But that's not, if I needed to, I would take control and get her out.
I was going to ask you about that, Jessica. In the entrepreneur world, I look in the mirror. What can I do? Everything that happens is almost like my fault.
Right. It's so true. I mean, at the end of the day, as an attorney, my bread and butter is my legal work. And so half the time I just have to keep plugging along to do what I need to do. That rental property is secondary, right? If
Yeah.
that was my only business, then of course I would
No.
make it a priority, right?
Good gracious.
Everybody's situation is going to be different. My perspective has been, at this point, I'd rather have it 3 weeks late than deal with having to take my time and go to court and deal with her. And is she going to damage my brand new kitchen because she's
Oh,
mad?
Lord.
Stuff like that. I genuinely am concerned about then, having to then deal with an insurance claim or, whatever.
Lucky for your tenant.
Yeah.
Lucky for your tenant, you have chosen to do this. This is not your main thing.
Yeah. But it's still a lesson learned. I consider myself burned, and I'll have to do things differently because I'm wasting so much time now dealing with it.
Yep. Yep. Jonathan wants to know what email he wants to know about some type of a title company in New York. Jonathan, can you email her about that? I don't know. Do you recommend? I mean, she is an attorney.
Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
know if you can recommend.
New York, and I work with a handful of title companies, and I'm happy to recommend somebody. So he can email me.
Her email is in the video description, Jonathan. Cash for keys. That's my favorite. I'm just like, look, take the money.
Yep. And most reasonable people will say thank you and leave.
Mm-hmm.
They don't want an eviction on their credit history. They, I mean, most landlords have a lot of success with cash for keys.
Mm.
Or even, hey, I won't penalize you. Just give me the keys and get out. Not even that you have to pay them. That's not always required. So it may be cheaper to say, look, here's $1,000, go move somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
But in some circumstances, you may just say, look, I'm not going to charge you for the 6 months lease you're breaking. I'm just going to let you out. You give me the keys, go on your way.
And it's over.
And it's over.
Edward, thank you. Thank you so much for your love offering, my friend. Thank you, Edward. Jessica, I think that's it. I don't see any more questions here.
Yep. And if anybody thinks of anything when they're watching a replay, they can email me and I'll be happy to answer them.
Oh, Daniel wants to know about a purchase and sale agreement. Yeah, we talked about that. We're coming up with all the stuff with Jessica. Yeah.
Yep. Yep. We're going to have all kinds of documents for everybody.
Final thoughts, Jessica, on landlording. What are you saying for people that wants to be a landlord or already are? And
yeah, you know what? I'll say this. For anybody who thinks it's a passive income, they are wrong.
No such thing as passive income.
Right? It is an active investment, but it will pay off. I mean, when I bought it, I made my money. I bought it at the right price in a good neighborhood. Every year it increases in value. So I know I have to just keep my eye on the long game. These small frustrations that come up should not deter me from my ultimate investment. It's just like the stock market, you ride that out. Sometimes it's going to dip, sometimes it's going to rise. So that's my advice is when you're dealing with tenants from hell, take a deep breath. It's only temporary.
Mm-hmm.
It's ultimately a long game in the buy and hold world, and just, keep your moving your course. Do not let a tenant or a situation with one particular tenant deter you from your ultimate financial freedom goals.
That's right. I like when you said this is a long game.
Yes.
Long game. Jessica, I calculated maybe like $50,000-$60,000 in mortgage payments that I have made over the years from people living in my houses.
Mm-hmm.
Can you imagine?
Yeah.
And I'm like, if I could, I would love to put some people through college or help. It's like just stuff that you think about, and people are not going to pay rent. Class, you got to stay. I promise you. Keep this in mind. Train them, or they will train you.
Yes.
Start from the jump. Why? Look, Jessica, the first month you let them late and you don't crack the whip, it's over.
Yeah, it's true. And I thought that serving that 3-day notice right of way would have sent the message, right? But it didn't. So it's my mistake for letting it go on. I learn from my mistakes and immediately file for the eviction.
Well, I don't think they're mistakes, Jessica. I think I think you're doing right by the universe and the stage in your life. Probably what's best. I don't know.
Thank you.
Don't feel bad. I'm saying don't feel bad. All
Oh,
right, class. Subscribe to my channel. Please like the content. Give us a thumbs up and tell us what tenant from hell stuff you have.
yes.
Jessica, are you gone? Are we when I hit in here, are you gone? Or are we gonna yeah.
I can talk to you for a few minutes. I'll also say this. If you think of questions or topics that you want us to talk about, send us an email. You
Yep.
know,
Or just
we'll
put it in the video
every
description.
Friday we kind of pick topics based upon what we have going on. But if there's something you want me to, a legal issue or a legal question, or you just shoot me an email and we'll add it to the Friday topics.
That'd be nice. Okay, class. I don't have anything for you. Monday, I have a new guest on my Monday Masters. I love you, and we'll talk to you soon.
Take care. Have a good weekend, everybody.